Hi, I'm Allie Hamilton, and I'm so happy to welcome you to the Come As You Are podcast. Every week, we'll be talking about some aspect of healing, usually around childhood wounds and complicated familial relationships. The topics will always coincide with my personal essay of the week, and this will be a place where we can take a deep dive together. I'm so thrilled you've joined me and delighted for you to always come as you are. Hi there. Hi there.
Hi there.
I have a special, very special guest today. My son, Dylan Hamilton Chia, is here, and it is not Bring Your Kid to Work Day, but I was having a really fascinating conversation with Dylan like about a week ago. We have conversations like this pretty regularly, but just about what is happening in the world, the stuff that I write about a lot. And, as your kids get older, obviously the conversations that you have with them change. And so I was talking to him about just how difficult it is sometimes, to grow up as a girl and a woman in this world and to try to fathom what is happening when you see cases like the case with the 3 teenage boys in the United Kingdom and the 2 teenage girls and the sentencing, that rape case that I was writing about a few weeks ago, but just everywhere, the violence or the way that I grew up, the things that happened on the streets of New York that I used to think were because I was in New York and a latchkey kid. And then I realized, no, this is everywhere. This was a conversation that we were having. And some of the things that you were saying to me were really fascinating. Dylan is going to be 20 in November, so it's just a really interesting time to be talking to him about this because you're there, you're at the manhood stage. And I thought some of the things that you were saying about the messaging that happens where you are taught to reject anything that is feminine, it kind of teaches you this hatred, that because that's something I struggle with, is like, where is this stemming from? This misogyny, like, where does it come from and what is driving it? And I thought like a lot of what you were saying was really, really interesting, so that's why I wanted to have this conversation.
Yeah. What I was saying when we were talking last week was that I'm coming to, I think, and not necessarily a realization, but I believe that probably the root cause of a lot of pain in this world is that most men don't take the time to figure out what their identity is. And what their masculinity means to them. And of course, that is because it's not expected of men, or it's not required of men. I think the same way that, you sort of, like the idea that like the man is the default sex, or like the man is the default, there's no need to question that when you are a boy or a man. So you just come at the world of this from this place of like, well, I am me, and that's all. I don't need to think about it. Like, these things are catered to me. I don't need to worry about who I am. And from the jump, I think it's impossible to avoid, even with a really feminist mother like I had, growing up in a single mother household like I did, it is still impossible to avoid sort of anti-feminine messaging, just because it's not even, it's implicit. You go out into the world and you just see it. And it's not even the loud stuff, it's the quiet stuff, the way that men interact with women.
Yeah.
So Yeah, I think that the root of a lot of pain for boys and for men is that you don't actually know what being a man means, and this identity that is constructed about of masculinity isn't who am I, it's who I'm not.
Yeah.
And I am not feminine. I am not gentle. I am not weak is what the perception is, but that's not really what it is. So you get to a place of rejecting and fearing and anger and feeling like you need to distance yourself from anything that does question your idea of what you're not, because the idea that you don't know who you are is scary.
Right. I think that the way that you were putting that, was a little bit, it was different. And the way that you just put it, this idea, because I think that's a key thing for me sometimes, is this deep grief that I feel for all women and girls, and for my younger self, and for my daughter, your sister, and for all daughters out there, and all girls and women I care about, is just this deep, deep grief over like what is causing this hatred, because it does feel that way. It does feel ultimately like, whether it's violence, whether we're talking about like intimate partner violence, or we're talking about rape, or we're talking about, like these very overt examples of male hatred against, girls and women, or we're talking about the more sort of like insidious stuff, or we're talking about the people who are in power right now, and how I was saying to you, like, we could get in the car and go across the country on a road trip, and like, if it was you, me, and your sister, it's like our rights are changing every time we cross state lines, and yours aren't,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's like there's the really outward, obvious stuff where you see the violence and it's clearly violence, and then there's like the unspoken, quieter stuff that also is costing lives.
Yeah.
But sometimes what hurts the most is this, just like, desire for me to understand like why.
Mm-hmm.
And even just like, just as an example right now, and there are examples all the time, like I don't go seeking them. This stuff, just like I open up my phone or whatever, and there's just like, oh bam, another one, like something else, and usually multiple examples every day. And there's this whole, I don't know if you saw, but there's just this whole thing now where Pete Hegseth wants to give men, he wants to start testing men in the military for testosterone.
Yeah.
Right. And if they're like low, then he wants to give them, and this is after like all of his trans people can't be part of the military.
Affirming
Yeah,
care.
we're not doing that. But men can get testosterone if they need it. And then I saw a clip of Jesse Waters, who is this, obviously Fox News. They're not a news show; they're an entertainment show, but they can use the word news for whatever reason. There's a guy on there whose name is Jesse Waters, and there's a clip of him saying like, oh, what's going to happen is these guys who don't need testosterone are going to take it, and they're going to have like triple testosterone. And, you like women on bases, you better watch out. And like,
Jesus.
yeah, port calls, better watch out, women. And, Asian women, you better watch out. Disgusting. And it's a panel of people, and they're like, couple of women, they were laughing along, and I'm like, I cannot, this man has daughters, and that is, and it's on, and it airs. Mm-hmm. It airs, and it's like, that is also really painful. Just that, like, women are voting for people like this or laughing along with people like this because you're taught to hate yourself
Mm-hmm.
as a woman and a girl,
Mm-hmm.
and to devalue yourself, and to, you think like maybe proximity is going to keep you safe, and if you laugh along with these guys they won't hurt you. They'll hurt you. They don't care, like, so, but it's the why of it. And I think when you were talking about the, what is a man when you're a boy, like what are you being taught, what is the messaging, it's so much about what you're supposed to reject.
Yeah.
And that made sense to me in this way that it just hadn't clicked before. Of course, as a boy, if you're being taught, like, don't be vulnerable, don't cry, like, don't show emotion, don't be scared, like, don't show that, what you called weakness, like, that's, we don't like that.
Right.
Then you're being taught to dislike anything, and you're like nodding like, of course, you know. But for me, like, oh, of course, like, that's going to teach this. It's not named. You're not being taught to hate women in, like, they're not naming it, but they're teaching you to hate femininity.
Yeah.
And so of course that and then there's probably like a threat to your well-being if you do like aspects of femininity, because then you're not a real man, and if the other men in the herd sense that you like that, then that's, they might sense a weakness in you.
It can be alienating. Yeah, and it's interesting, and like, and just to tap back onto the weakness thing again for a moment, is just because, you know, we call it weakness, like we call vulnerability weakness. Vulnerability is the strongest fucking thing you can
Yes.
do. That is the hardest, I think it is the hardest thing in the world,
Yeah.
is to be open. And so the real weakness is an acceptance of that status quo.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that's the normal thing to do. That is a natural want. It is the easy thing to do, is just as a man to accept that status quo. And I was just thinking just now, because you were talking about that deep grief that you feel as a woman, I don't think most men are called to feel that at all. And that's kind of what I was saying a minute ago. But it's easy to be, you know, it's
Part
easy
of the herd.
it's easy to be a man. It's easy to just fall into that pattern of falling into that real weakness of rejecting the hard parts of relationships and the hard parts of being a human, because the world is just so set up for you. I mean, yeah, my rights aren't going to change here or in, you know, anywhere else in the, you know, we could travel across the whole country, we could travel across the whole world, and my rights would just about stay the same.
Yeah.
So I'm never going to be called to question my identity the same way that you are. And I don't think that that's true across the board with all men and all women, of course. I mean, you were just talking about like women laughing along with this guy, like, but that's a different kind of like,
Yeah, not all women.
yeah, I mean, you know,
Not all men. Yeah.
I think that there is, when you're a man and you're growing up, things are set up for you. And when you're a woman and you're growing up, things are not. And that is going to call you to think about why more than most men would.
Right.
And I think that that's a difference in the sort of what I'm talking about of like not developing a sense of identity.
Yeah.
Just because I'm not asked to, you know,
Right.
in the same way that you are demanded to.
Right. Or someone who's not fitting into the mold, like, you know, like a queer person who's growing
Yeah.
up and feeling like, I am not, this is not, I don't feel like I don't fit into this.
Right, like this isn't this isn't built for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that that kind of rejection is easy, and natural, and not, you know, it doesn't make you a terrible person as a man to not begin your life questioning these things. Of course, if they're presented to you and it's like, well, this is for me, so this is who I'm going to be, and like, you know, that's like,
That's
of
everybody.
course, like,
That
yeah,
you
that's,
do what you're told is the thing. It's I think we all do that as kids.
yeah.
We are believing the grown-ups around us and assuming that what we're being told is true because we don't have anything else to go on.
It's not even an assumption. It's like, it is true. There's nothing else that I
Nope,
know.
exactly. This is the world that's
This is
as
the
it's
world.
being presented
This
to
is
me.
the world, yeah.
And, yeah, and these godlike creatures, and this is how it is.
Right.
Yeah.
But I do think that at a certain point, like, you can't blame your parents for your shit for your whole life.
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of people like to do or just never deal with. The same way you can't go about your life forever not thinking about who you are or what that sort of relationship between masculinity and femininity means. And I don't mean like, I don't mean to alienate men at all by saying this, because I think it's important to feel it's I mean, it's everything that I'm saying. It's important to open yourself up to this idea that maybe the idea of masculinity that I have is not really what it means to me, you know? And I think that just because males are the like physically dominant sex, that is all that masculinity as a culture has leaned into. This idea of like, I'm going to be big and I'm going to take up space and I'm going to like make my presence known. And I will be dominant. But that's not what masculinity means to me.
We were talking about like how well, a couple things, and I don't want to like forget, but like we were talking about you said that it feels disgusting to you to have power over a woman, like that it makes you feel like that, just the reality of that, because you are, like you're taller than I am, you're strong, like if it came down to it, like you could take me down, I mean,
Yeah.
and that's just a reality. And you said that feeling of, in any way, in any sense of like having power over a woman makes you feel disgusting. And I was saying it's really interesting because I don't think, well, I know for a fact, like there are a lot of men who maybe they do ultimately feel disgusting. I don't know, but there are a lot of men who don't seem to feel that sense of disgust.
I think that probably for all men, that layer of disgust is there, but it's stifled by an insecurity that I don't think I have.
Yeah.
Of feeling threatened by women and by femininity, which is what, just that rejection of this is what I'm not.
Right.
And so, yeah, like I hate feeling like I hate feeling like I have physically more power, which I mean is just true, but there's a way to go about carrying yourself that isn't going to make that felt, I think.
Yes.
But I hate just feeling like, I don't like when women clean up after me, is what I was saying.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I feel like, ugh, like I'm like,
Yeah.
And I think that men who do enjoy that probably on some deep level do feel that kind of disgust and that sort of like, ugh. But it's sort of smothered by this, no. Like I'm a man, and now like I'm showing you that like I'm the boss, and you're you, and like I'm me.
Right.
And so me.
So clean up my plate.
Yeah. So clean up my plates. Yeah, I think that's because that is like what that is insecurity. It's insecurity.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
and I don't. I mean, maybe it would be good to talk to a more like macho kind of man about this, because I don't interact with a lot of like guys, like I don't, by design, I don't. But when I do, I can always I can feel the insecurity before we even.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can feel that kind of.
I think it's the same. It's like the memes about just like if a guy is driving like it's like a really whatever, like a sports car that makes a lot of noise, it's like to just make up for something else. Like I think that the more a man has to show you how manly he is in whatever way, that is coming out of insecurity. It's like, I'm going to show you and tell you either like how big I am, how strong I am, like how much money I have, or whatever. Anytime anyone is doing that, flexing for whatever reason, it's coming out of and like some need to prove something
Yeah.
to himself or to somebody else. And so, yeah, I totally agree. And, I was going to say that in kind of thinking about whether all men feel some level of disgust, I mean, one thing that really, I think that there's this, it's like, well, I don't know. I would never try to speak for men. It was just one of the reasons I wanted to have this conversation. And obviously, you would need to speak to a million men,
Yeah.
But one of those core memories I have, which is really unfortunate core memories, when I was 13 and this guy grabbed me in the stairwell on my way to ballet. And I'm not going to go into too many details, but he grabbed me from behind. I got away from him after, a couple of minutes. And when I managed to get away from him, I turned on the stairs and I was facing him. And I was terrified, of course. And what was so like disconcerting to me and something I'll never forget is that we made eye contact at that point for the first time because, I hadn't really, I saw him coming. I did
Yeah.
notice that. And he then entered my ballet studio first.
Uh-huh.
And and then that made me feel like I was okay because like okay,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
went in first and then I passed him because he was going up the stairs slowly, and as soon as I passed him, he grabbed me and had a hand over my mouth, whatever. And then when I got away from him and turned, we were like halfway up the stairs. I was kind of doing the like crab walk. I didn't want to turn my back on him again, as you can imagine. But when we made eye contact, I had yelled no. And I turned around and was then facing him, but I was lower, like even though he was standing and I was on my butt, like facing him, but I was going to crab walk backward up the stairs. He looked terrified. And that was disorienting for me because I was a kid, of course, and totally scared, just fight or flight response, all of that. The last thing I expected was for him to look scared.
Right.
And he did. There was this moment that's kind of like frozen in my mind where we were just almost faced. I was lower, but, face to face. And he looked scared. And then he turned and ran down the stairs and out the door.
Yeah.
And I think that whatever caused that behavior, I think there was a tremendous amount of pain and shame. I do think he, prior to that, maybe wasn't thinking about me as a human being.
Yeah.
I was an object. And then when I turned and faced him, I suddenly became a person.
Yeah.
And he realized he had scared a child.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know. But it something happened where
Yeah.
we were two human beings facing each other. And he turned and fled. And so I do, and this is not me. This is not me trying to be like, oh, let's all have compassion for, I'm not saying that, okay?
Yeah.
That's not what this is. I am just trying to say that this is a deep level of me, my whole life, trying to understand what is driving this behavior.
Right.
That's what this is, just to be super clear. And that stands out to me.
It's
yeah.
fear. I agree. And again, of course, anything I say right now is not a justification
No,
of
I
any
know.
kind of behavior like that or any kind of misogynistic behavior in general. But I agree that I think that fear is so, like, he was afraid of you,
Yeah.
And and I think the reason that men target little girls is because they're afraid of women.
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean, that's not that's not like a
Yeah.
revelation, but yeah, it's he didn't in that, you know, whatever split second where you're looking at each other, he sees you as a person, and he freaks out because looking at you is causing him to look at himself.
Yeah. It was awful. I mean, I just,
Yeah.
the whole thing was like really, obviously,
Yeah.
you know, a devastating experience. And I
Yeah.
had no, like, I had other experiences where guys had like flashed me, you know, like exposed themselves on the bus or at the in Central Park or whatever. But I had never had someone like physically assault me. And I had no, you know, it just, the whole thing was so, I didn't have a frame of reference or like anywhere to, you know, put that.
Yeah.
And that moment was also something like I had no words for that, you know, like no way to make sense of that. And then
Yeah.
he was gone, and you know, they didn't catch him. Like I went and you know, I did not turn my back and go up the stairs till I watched him race out the door.
Yeah.
Then I turned around and went up the stairs and went into the ballet studio. And by the time they went out racing out the door, he was gone.
Yeah.
But you know, but I've had unfortunately other assault situations where I did not feel that after. What I felt was a total numbness. And I wonder if that's another thing that happens for
Right.
some men, of just like, there's nothing, I just took what I wanted. I know you said no, but I am gonna just kind of like negate that.
Yeah.
And act like I was entitled to that. Nothing unusual, like that was fine.
Right.
And I'm going to act like that was fine and normal, and we're just going to continue on.
Yeah.
And I think that's like a real deep cutoff from any.
I think that's like, it has become too difficult to confront yourself with that, as like in the man, like
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
man, it has become too difficult for him to confront himself.
Yeah.
And so it's a total lack of feeling.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I'm entitled and I just did this and
Right.
now it's done.
And now we're moving on.
Yeah.
And nothing happened. Like,
But he hates himself. Like,
Yeah.
Like there's just I think that a lot of people just end up like sitting with their shit for a long time.
yeah.
And knowing that there are things that they could be working on but not.
Yeah.
And I think that on some level everybody knows that, and everybody has shit. Like everybody has stuff that they need to
Totally.
work on, and I think on some level, you know, maybe you haven't really done the thinking yet to put it exactly together. Like, what is it? What do I need to like? But you know that there's something like in you that is hard for you to sit with, and that numbness is like, this is just too hard. And I'm never, like, I can't, but you're fucking unhappy.
Yeah.
Cause you know in your core that you're wrong,
Yeah.
and that I think that it's impossible not to know that, you know?
Yeah.
And you can put up a bazillion walls in between you and that knowledge, and you can completely be ignorant, but you still know that you're shutting yourself off from being yourself.
It's like a thorn in your brain,
Yeah.
or like in your heart, and it's still in there, and you can still feel it, and it's still preventing you. That tiny thorn is like the actual key to you living a life that feels good.
Yeah.
Until you pull it out, like nothing you do, no matter how much money you make or what you like, what partner you have, or what you like, whatever you accomplish.
Yeah.
You're still not going to be at peace within
Yeah.
yourself. And, you know, when you were saying earlier, like vulnerability is strength.
Yeah.
I mean, it absolutely is. Like for everyone, for all,
everyone.
all genders, everyone, you know, I think that like, if you can't sit with discomfort and you can't look at your own shit, and figure out like, okay, whatever happened, in my childhood, whatever happened out in the world, whatever happened, here I am now, I'm an adult. And this is my life happening.
Yeah.
Like it's happening right now, like at a certain point I have to take a hold of that. And if it's not feeling good, then I have to figure out why and what I can do in order to change that or shift that or heal if I need help. Like if there's something that I'm believing about myself or, patterns that I keep making these choices that cause me pain or cause other people pain or, maybe I need to get help with this or something. Or you're going to be stuck,
Yeah.
I don't think men are encouraged to do that the way that women.
No, and I think that for some men, for a rapist, you're too far gone. I think like if you could really process what you had inflicted on another person, you wouldn't be able to live with yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the two.
I do.
Like if you could ever look at yourself on that level and understand what you had done, I just like you can't. You wouldn't be able to live with yourself.
Yeah.
So there is a degree there's a degree where I think it's too late for you, and I think it is. Like I don't think that you can and that's not to say that for you should stop trying,
right?
But I think you get to a certain point and it's just like, well, my life is over, like I've done something.
I mean, I think which is going to probably, because this is also something I consider too. There was this case that I mentioned earlier with these boys in England, but it happens everywhere. It happens here. It happens everywhere. And they were really, they were really young. They were 14, 15. And the girls, sadly, were also 14, 15. And they're absolutely, they're not at all okay.
Yeah.
And this judge was all about the boys. You guys are so young and nobody needs to go to jail today. And, so he gave them non-custodial sentences and it was a huge uproar. But in England, they have a process where if there's a big public outcry, they will review those sentences and they can change them, which is, we don't have that here, unfortunately. But, and they did that. But I think for somebody like me, right, who's a mom, and a lot of women my age who I know, you hear about a case like that, and these boys did a horrible. It's it's awful. It's painful to think about, right?
Yeah.
But you don't want to think to yourself, how does that happen? That a 14-year-old boy is doing something like that, and that's a boy.
Yeah.
And so do you want to say it's too late for him? His life's over and he may as well just,
maybe.
Right?
Yeah.
I know for you, it's I appreciate that in you.
Maybe what I meant is that for me.
Yes. The thought of that is so awful. Yes. And I listen, I love that about you, that the thought of that is so horrifying that, but I think that part of, for me is trying to figure out, okay, what happened there,
right?
What did not, and I did not agree with the non-custodial sentencing
at
all, because these girls did a very painful, and this happens all the time. It happens here in the United States where women will come forward and they get attacked.
Yeah.
What was she wearing?
Yeah.
They'll go to her social media. How many boyfriends has she had? How much did she have to drink? All this stuff that's completely irrelevant, and you're just attacking the victim. But what would work? And what was really interesting to me too is because then I looked to see in that particular case that I'm talking about, what were the judge's options? Like, what could he have done?
Yeah.
And they actually do have, and look, I don't know, it's always easy from the outside to read about some other system in another country and be like, wow, that sounds great. But then the people in the country be like, well, yeah, it sounds great, but that's not how it works, like,
Right, yeah.
so I don't know. I'm not speaking from inside the United Kingdom with a real knowledge, but the way it sounds is very good. Like, where they're putting kids who are minors they're in a separate situation where they're getting like group therapy, they're getting
Yeah.
like all kinds of like reprogramming, basically, like
Yeah.
let's relearn, something's gone very wrong here.
I mean, I think that that's good for anybody of any age.
Yes,
But if that's actually what's happening in the UK for young people, then that is good.
much better.
Yeah.
And I think that also, as you said, like I think that you're probably correct that if we're talking about a 40-year-old man who's going around raping
Yeah.
people, it's going to be a real tough haul to, get, like, what is that going to look like to try to have some kind of custodial rehabilitation situation.
Yeah.
But probably there needs to be some really good research done on this topic, because incarcerating people doesn't do it.
Yeah, for sure.
That's not the solution. I mean, just incarcerating them in like the general
Yeah.
population is not the way. So we just need better systemic solutions all the way through.
Right. And things like incarceration, and this is what another thing we were talking about last week. But just like there are a lot of systems in place that will build resentment and worsen
Yes.
conditions.
Yeah.
And I think that that's by design.
Yeah.
But for instance, I worked with a guy who made a lot of women in my workplace uncomfortable, and was, asking a girl who's my age, to like, he was encouraging her to go drink with him, and he was sort of like overly touchy with her. And she told me about this, and then he had asked out another one of our coworkers, and also he was their superior as well. He was my superior too, but and I think he's like 24, 25, and we're 19. And so my coworker, she was telling me about this, and I said, like, I don't want to work with him. Like, and she didn't want to talk to our big boss because she had gone through something like this before, and it had been really uncomfortable, and like she just didn't want to have to get into it again. So I told her, like, I will communicate this and I will keep you anonymous for as long as I can, but like I just can't do it. So I spoke to my boss about it, and I said to him, like, I don't want this to just be that, this guy, I'll call him John. This guy John is gonna go. He's gonna get in trouble here, and then he's gonna go somewhere else and be worse and be angrier and do the same, have the same behavior, but amplified.
Right.
Like, I don't want that to happen, because I can see that happening. I don't want this to just be, reprimandment, and
Then that's it.
like, I hope that this can be a learning experience. I hope this can be a growing experience. Unfortunately, it was not.
Yeah.
I think, like, they started investigating him, and then he quit.
Right.
And he said to another one of my male coworkers before he quit, he said, man, like, Dylan's a guy, like, he should get it. Like, I can't believe it, because, I think he had seen what I had said. I had written an email, and I think he
Yeah.
had seen it. And he was like, yeah, Dylan's a guy, like, he should get it. I do get it, you
Right,
know?
right.
I do fucking get it.
Yeah, that's why I wrote the
That's
email.
why I wrote the email. I get how awful it is to be so deep in that insecurity that I've been talking about, that I feel the need to not just to overpower my already insubordinate coworkers
Right.
who are young women, and become angry when that fires back on me.
Right.
I understand how easy it is to not do that.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's I think there's this thing too, and it goes back to the world is set up for me.
Yeah.
I'm entitled.
Yeah.
And when someone says no, you're
Yeah.
not entitled, there's like a rage there of who are you to tell me no?
Right.
Like I've been
But really, I don't think that rage is even, I mean, it's that,
Yeah.
but, and like, that's like the surface level of it, but what it really is I know.
Right.
And now I have to,
Now I have to look
now
at
I have to
that.
look at that.
Right.
Like, I know.
don't make me face that.
Yeah.
You
Because
know?
because I think that, like,
It's like a trapped
yeah.
animal.
Exactly.
You cornered him.
And it's like, and you're talking about, like, because I think it's, you know, you start thinking about, like, well, what is the root cause of this? Like, it is that entitlement, but then where does that entitlement come from? It comes from fucking fear
Yeah.
that I know that I'm a naked little animal and I can't get out of this, and I'm trapped, and I can't, like, face this, and you're making me face this right now, and that's scary, and that's more than I can do.
Right. Right. I always feel like people tend to, and again, this is all people, I think, but probably more men because they haven't ever had to do it
Yeah.
unless they wanted to or unless some life thing happened where, you know, they were called to. But I think there is this misconception for most people that, like, if they really face their deepest fears, it's gonna overpower them.
Yeah.
And they're not gonna be like, that's gonna do them in.
Yeah.
And it's the reverse. It's like
Yeah.
not facing it.
Yeah.
That's what does you in. That, to me, this is my opinion.
Yeah.
This is not, but my opinion is that's the root of, like, all addiction. That's the root of, like, most violence. That's the root of most of the misery and suffering in the world is when people dig in and just refuse to face that stuff because the pain of that and the level to which you have to disconnect from your genuine feelings
Yeah.
is so profound. It's you're cutting yourself off from, like, that real soulful
Yeah.
kind of living, and you're like the zombie version of yourself.
Exactly.
You know?
And that's, I mean, that for me has always, well, not always, but in the last few years has been a real driving force of, like, I don't want to live like that.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to sit in that sort of, that knowledge that I am not who I know I can be.
Right.
I refuse to, you know?
Yeah.
And this is, I think this is, like, sort of a common expression or trope, but there's, like, you know, it's either you face an extreme period of discomfort for a short period of time or a mild discomfort for your entire fucking life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would much rather just deal with it
Yeah.
and face
Head
it
on.
and confront it and then move past it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that thing of, like, you know, some people say God, some people say life, whatever. It's like, you know, life's gonna like whisper in your ear.
Yeah.
And if you don't listen, then it's gonna come back and tap you on the shoulder. And if you still don't listen, it's gonna come back and, like, you know, punch you in the gut.
Yeah.
It's like you can listen for the whisper and
Yeah.
respond, or you can wait till you get punched in the gut. But, like, one way or the other,
Yeah.
most people reach a place where it's they do have to face it, and if they don't face it, it will eventually do them in.
Yeah.
You know, that those are the people who don't overcome, and it's
Right. And then, and it's like, I feel like you see that in elderly people.
yeah.
Like, if we want to, you know, like, psychological terms, there's, like, the Erik Erikson stages of life. The last one is, and this is, like, sort of like in your end of life, it's integrity versus despair. It's like, can I look back on my life and see that the choices I made were the right choices and I did something good, or did I throw it away?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people throw it away,
Yeah.
you know? And I think you start to see, I mean, of course, not everybody, but I think you see people in old age become unhappy and bitter because they don't do that hard work, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I mean, you've had aging parents at this point. You can,
I mean, it's weird because, of course, that is instantly what jumped to mind. I was thinking
Yeah.
about my dad because, you know, he was 96 when he died. You know, he just turned 96, and he lived a life, and I've written about it and you know
Yeah.
talked about it, and I mean, he had some really great qualities. I never like to paint somebody with one brush
Yeah.
because it's not accurate. You know, for most people, for some people it is accurate. You know, like there's not a lot of light there,
Yeah.
but with him, he was a very creative person. He was, you know, very open-minded.
Yeah.
His whole life, very open-minded guy. You know, good writer. He started sculpting when he was 70 and was great at, you know, like
Yeah.
he became really, I think, you know, made some incredible sculptures. And he just was, I remember at some point he came out and visited, and I was like, I had just done like a juice fast, and he was like, "Oh, tell me about that." And then he went and did a juice fast. Like he, you know, he bought a juicer. Like
Yeah.
he was very open-minded, and I will give him that, you know. But also, he hurt every woman he ever was involved with,
Yeah.
and he treated women like objects.
Yeah.
And he, you know, unfortunately, like brought me along for that ride when I was a kid, and broke my mother's heart, and every woman who ever loved him, I think, really, except maybe his fourth wife, you know, his last wife.
The fourth one, of course.
Yeah, the final, you know, um and I don't know that for sure, but I think he didn't, but but you know, at the end of his life, this was, of course, as you know, like a year and a half after I lost my mom. I was not, you know, not at all. And he started talking about, because he started to lose it there at the
Yeah.
end, he started talking to me about the secretary,
Yeah.
and not realizing he was talking to me about my mother. He
Yeah.
was talking to me about the secretary he met. He met my mother when she was 19.
Mm-hmm.
He's married, he's got 2 kids, you know, who were 14 and 16, and
Yeah.
he meets a 19-year-old secretary in New York City. He's living up in Buffalo, New York, and they have an affair, and like, you know, and so he's talking to me about this, and he was haunted by dreams, anxiety dreams about the secretary.
Wow.
And my mother had forgiven him.
Yeah.
You know, she, at the end of like a few years before she got sick,
Yeah.
she sent him a letter. She asked me for his current address. I gave it to her. It was weird. They were not in contact.
Yeah.
And something in her, she was still very healthy. But
Yeah.
she was like, can you, you know, I gave it to her. And she said, I want to write your dad a letter, and I want to let him know I forgive him. And I thought to myself, he is going to be like, what do you don't have anything to forgive me for. You
Yeah.
know, like he never would really acknowledge that stuff, but she sent him a letter, and apparently, like, you know, she told me that he called her and they talked, and he thanked her. But I guess like he forgot that at the end or whatever, and the hospice team was telling me he was like waking up in a sweat, like the secretary.
I know this.
Yeah, it was intense. And so I think what you're saying is really true, that if you don't live your life with integrity and you hurt people and you know, just carry on that way. He didn't try to make amends with her. She just, of her own accord, I think,
Yeah.
wanted to not carry that
Yeah.
anymore. So she sent him a letter. And, you know, I think you're right that it's like you get to the end of your life and that stuff is going to
Yeah.
haunt you.
Right.
And he was one of those guys who I think thought like the more notches on your belt,
Yeah.
you know, and just nothing solves that. Whatever it is that you're trying to solve, nothing external fixes it. You could sleep with 9,000 women, which I think he probably did, and like it's not going to fix it if it's, you know, something in you that's like, I'm not enough, or
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I am really curious, like, obviously there's also this whole with social media, there's a whole pipeline like Andrew Tate, like toxic masculinity, looks maxing and all this stuff
Yeah.
that's being,
Yeah. I think that the lead influencers of the looks maxing community are actually more nuanced and interesting
yeah.
than. Yeah, I think that that is insecurity, but that's a less harmful insecurity than somebody like Andrew Tate,
Yeah.
for sure.
Is it being co-opted? Because I don't know. Like, that's
Yeah.
not in my timeline. So I'm wondering if the looks maxing influencers or like whatever, if
Yeah.
that is like the pipeline that leads you into, because I know a big part of Andrew Tate's thing is like working out. You're going to work out and you're going to feel better. You're going to
Yeah.
be strong, and you like girls like strong,
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's like a funnel or if it's just there are some people that are just going.
I think it can be, and I think that just because they're similar ideas, they end up going hand in hand.
Yeah.
But I think that I think that the insecurity that comes behind looks maxing is more self-aware.
Should we tell people what that is, just in case they're
Sure,
like, what?
it's looks maxing is it's well, actually I don't know that much about it,
Yeah,
but
it's basically like trying to make the most of like
it's
how
like
you.
it's treating yourself like a video game character and trying to max out your stats.
Yeah.
And like these guys are doing pretty insane things to themselves.
Yeah.
To try to achieve like the best versions of themselves, and like there are all these ideas on like like what is the optimal, like where should your cheekbones be, and they're like hitting their fucking faces with hammers to like try to. It's sad,
God.
and it's sad, and it's the same insecurity, but it's like the like one of the more prominent guys, this guy Clavicular.
Yes.
Like I've seen videos of him talking about it. He is so deeply hurt.
Yeah.
And but he knows it, and I think
Yeah.
that I like a lot of what I'm talking about is like avoidance and not wanting to sit with that discomfort, and I think he has sat with that discomfort, and his method his method of dealing with that discomfort is so far from anything that I would ever do.
Yeah.
But it's like he's trying to deal with it,
Yeah.
he's not,
Avoiding it.
He's
He's
not
just
avoiding
maybe
it. He's
going
just-
about trying to fix it in not the best.
Yeah,
way.
and like I saw a video of him talking about like, like a 14-year-old kid has like cystic acne, like and it's terrible, and like and like the least productive thing you can tell him is like it's just gonna get better, like you have to give like no, you should be telling him how he can fix it right now. Mm-hmm. No, you should be telling him that he is okay even though he has,
Yeah. That there's more to him than that.
there is more to him than his
Yes.
cystic acne.
Yes.
And we shouldn't just be telling him that. We should be telling all of these kids that he knows who are making fun of him that.
Yeah.
And I don't just mean telling them. Like we should be making an effort to make it known. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's like that's an interesting offshoot. And I think that the red pill, like the more
Yeah.
like the red pill community is fucking scary, and I think that is a very reactionary, like, because there was a moment there in the 2010s where I think we were calling on. I mean, there are moments every now and then where we do call on men to like be more than they are.
Yeah.
And I think the like red pill, Andrew Tate, Joe Rogan kind of like shoot of men is a very sort of like return to that comfort.
Backlash.
It's like fuck, that was scary, like that was a lot. I'm gonna lean even further into this because like this is something I know, and like this is something I can rely on. I think that's what that is.
And I think it's like that backlash that you're describing is very historically a thing that happens in a culture where you'll like, there'll be like a big push in one direction,
Yeah.
and then there's like, no, we're going to go all the way back the other way.
Yeah.
And then usually, hopefully
yeah. Hopefully we make
come back to the middle somewhere.
Just as an entire culture, as a world, I think we're so far in that.
We are about as far, into the mess of that as I've ever experienced in my lifetime, certainly. Not maybe like, there have been times historically where things have been awful, but, like,
But I mean, but I feel like we're not far from that.
No, and it's sad because one would hope that you would look at history and be like, let's not ever do that again. And yet, here we are. And I think also just with like men
Yeah.
and women, and you would hope that we would have evolved, enough to realize like this is not we don't want to be going backward. And there
Right.
are people right now in the conservative spheres, like the trad wife, I'm where it's like women are like being young women are being encouraged to like just get married,
Yeah.
have babies,
Yeah.
stay home, let your husband be do the work and be the provider. And the reason that so many women are unhappy is because of feminism. Feminism has let them down, and you can't have it all, and that's why women are so angry. It's like, no, women are angry because they're being devalued.
Feminism is clearly the solution.
Feminism is the reason trad wives can have the platforms they have on social media expressing their opinions. Like, that's why you can do that, because of feminism.
And feminism makes you uncomfortable because
you're making a different choice.
Because you can see where there is growth to be had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a strange time right now. There's no doubt. And I think it's...
And just to go back on the historical thing for a second,
please.
like, yes, in the sort of like practical like sense, we are taking huge steps back, but I actually like think it doesn't feel like that because a lot of American history has just been a treatment of symptoms.
Yeah.
And we have done just about fucking nothing to address hatred of women, hatred of black people.
Yep. Taking what we want.
Yeah.
And just
killing
people to do that if
And,
necessary. I know.
And so like, of course we've made sort of more superficial changes.
Yeah.
But the desire to extinguish the voices of everybody else is still is probably stronger than it was when colonizers first got to this country.
Yeah, it's so sometimes, you can imagine my timelines are pretty, I mean, it's no surprise to you, I'm extremely liberal, and I don't hide how I feel. So with everyone's algorithms, that's what's going to be, that's what I'm seeing all the time. But I know that. And because I write, like sometimes I will go and search for things that are very much outside of what I believe. And so I do see other things in my timeline as well that are like completely antithetical to what I believe. There are I couldn't be more opposed to, but it's so that I can speak to like, what are people thinking?
Yeah.
And it's the same. I think that it's my desire to understand, which has always driven me as a person. That's like my own personal thing. And, like what is driving this person to behave this way? Like, what has happened here? And part of, I was just as a tiny example of something that is so wild right now, is Russell Vogt. Like he was designated as head of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which is like exactly as it sounds, right? He's supposed to be protecting consumers from like predatory like bank loans, corporations, and debt collectors.
Yeah.
And he was appointed to take over that job by the president in February of 2025.
Okay.
And he was called to testify because he started to do things that did not make sense. Like, for example, deciding in favor of these huge banks.
Yeah.
And these large corporations and reversing settlements that had been won in favor of consumers.
Yeah.
So the exact opposite of what the agency was there to do, you know. And so he was called to testify, and there were all of these, you know, Democratic female senators who were calling him to task, you know, like, explain this to me, like, why would you make a decision? Are you friends with like the CEO at, you know,
Right.
this bank or that bank? Like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
And he was not able to answer those questions, you know. And in the comments underneath these clips, these videos, there are people attacking these women. Like, she's anti-American, this partisan hatred needs to stop, you know. And I'm like, partisan hatred, and these people on the left, you know, she should go back to where she came from, you know, it's different senators
Yeah.
and I'm like, this woman is literally
Fighting for you.
for you.
Yeah.
And you're insulting her in the most misogynistic, racist way possible. Do you understand what his job in this capacity was? Because he's got two jobs. Like, he was supposed to look out for you, and he didn't.
Right.
And you're insulting her because she's upset on your behalf. She's not just upset for Democratic consumers.
Yeah.
She's upset for all Americans.
Yes. Yeah.
But you're attacking her. And I think it's like, that is the part that really worries me when I look at where we are, because there's this knee-jerk, if you are a woman and you are impassioned and, you know, speaking to a man
Right.
in a certain way, for some people,
It doesn't
It's-
even matter what you're saying.
nope,
Yeah.
you are rude. And that's what people were saying. She's rude. She's, you know, out of line. It's disrespectful. Disrespectful.
Disrespectful.
Are you kidding? Like, you want somebody. She should be.
Yeah.
He deserves it. He's completely screwed everyone.
Yeah.
The $26 billion Americans got screwed out of last year by the agency that was supposed to be looking out for them. So, you know, but it's just, that's the part where I start to worry, because I'm like, people are kind of so stuck in to their ideas about things
Right.
that they don't even see what's happening anymore. Like, if somebody's fighting for them, they're still attacking, you know, like, we're so deeply entrenched in,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's tough. And I of course am always trying to figure out, like, how do we get out of this? Like, how do we start
Right.
working together? How do we, you know, and I don't know, I don't know. But I think that was one of the things that I also wanted to, it's one of the reasons I wanted to have this conversation, because I think for younger guys,
Yeah.
it's really powerful to have someone who's a 19-year-old young man speaking this way. And you know, and for people like me,
Yeah.
people who are my age, to hear someone your age who is a man, you know, like a man speaking this way is also, you know, it's like a nice shot of hope. You know, I understand that, like, there's a whole wide, just like there is, you know, across the country, it's, you're not maybe representative of like all 19 year, you know, there's a big,
No, I don't.
yeah,
I think
sadly, but I think that the more of this, that men are encouraged to do this kind of work and this
Yeah.
kind of, the better.
What I would like to say, or what I would ask of men, I think is, you know, I mean, maybe shouldn't have buried this an hour into our conversation, but what I would ask of men is to sit with their discomfort and accept that it's going to be hard and you're not going to like what you see, but that it will be good. And to look at yourself, even though it's scary, and to not accept the status quo at face value, because on some level you know that you're cheating yourself out of more. And I mean, the expression, the best time to plant a seed was 20 years ago, the second best time is today. It's hard. It's hard, but think about, what does masculinity mean to me, And not just masculinity, like, who am I? What is my identity? That's not, I mean, that's not something that I can answer for anybody else. I can say that for me, like, I'm 19. I don't know, but what I'm coming to, the person I think I'm growing into, and the things that matter to me are, like I was saying earlier, like integrity, knowing that I can look back on my actions and feel good about them, and ask myself, like, who do I want to be? How do I want to carry myself? How do I want to treat the people around me? And then take stock, do like a personal inventory of, like, well, am I living that way? And if I'm not, then what can I do to change that? And am I doing the things that I want to reflect? I know that that's really been big for me. I think that strength is also really important to me, and not in that superficial way that I've been talking about, but in the vulnerable, honest, open sense of strength, like the real strength, the strength of looking at yourself is what I'm, saying, doing the hard thing and not just sitting in your comfort, because I think comfort is really the enemy of growth.
Yeah, totally agree.
You're not, I mean, it's not even, that's obvious. Like, you have to step out of your comfort zone if you want to improve. That's true in every single facet, aspect,
No doubt.
Yeah. And I think that, like, there's a lot of, with all the bad, there's a lot of good in the things that we consider masculine,
Yeah.
I think that physical exercise is awesome. And when you do it well and right, it is a great example of what masculinity can be like, doing hard things and pushing yourself further than you thought you could, and growing. Like, I think that is like a physical sort of blueprint for what I'm asking you to do emotionally.
Right.
And think about how, like, how good that can feel. Now, if you do that within yourself, how amazing your life can be.
I think also you were talking the other day about, self-restraint, and, like, the difference between, like, the easy thing is punching somebody in the face if they do something, they hurt someone you love, or
Right.
and not doing that
Right.
is the thing that is real strength and real power.
Yeah.
Is, like, not doing that.
Yeah. Yes.
Can you talk about that for a second?
Sure. I was thinking about conversations you want to have with your mother, but I was thinking about masculinity with sex.
Yeah, you can have this conversation. It's fine. I can handle it.
Because with straight sex, with, a woman and a man, there is, it's scarier on the woman's end, without a doubt. I mean, you're letting someone into you.
Enter your
Yeah. But as on my end, as the man, another, I think, important aspect of masculinity is care.
Yeah.
You are being vulnerable with me. I have an obligation to take care of you.
Yeah.
You are opening yourself to me. I am going to open myself to you in return.
Yeah. See, that's beautiful. Like, I just think, I think all of those ideas are so important,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
don't get talked about very
No,
much.
and I think that, like some like more mainstream movements try to reject that sort of part of masculinity that I think is just true of like I males are the more physically dominant sex. I mean,
Yeah.
that's true, and that's not a bad thing.
No, no,
That's
no.
not. I mean, that's there's a way to carry yourself that's beautiful in
Well,
that.
yeah, and I think like that has been this conversation too that's been going on in like female spaces, well, women dominant spaces, let's
Yeah.
say, instead of female spaces, but where it's like when you're on a hiking trail and a man comes up behind you, like or crosses your path.
Yeah.
And if you're out in the woods, like in a desolate area, that can be really scary.
Yeah.
Where like two men passing each other, you probably just gonna be like, hey, what's up? Like,
Right.
and go on your way and maybe not think about it. But if you're a woman,
Yeah.
you're now thinking, shit, is he gonna you're gonna turn around and see, is he really continuing
Yeah.
on? Am I safe? Like,
Yeah.
do I need to, do I have any service? Like, can I like can I share my location with someone?
Right.
Should I cut this hike short? Should I just like all these things are going to start going through your head. And there is this way like of sharing space with a woman
Yeah.
as a man that can put a woman at ease. And just asking, there was a guy who I think I can't remember now, but I think he leads hikes or whatever, and he put like a thing out that was just like, hey men,
Yeah.
if you pass a woman like on a trail, like there's a way, like try to understand that it's different. And there were a bunch of butthurt men in the comments, like, so I can't just say hi, like,
Right.
how are you, like very angry responses. And it's like, maybe could you just, what you're describing, which is, could you be aware of the fact that you could cause harm? You personally might be somebody like you who would never do that, but there's no way for a woman to know.
Yeah.
Like, you can't know.
Yeah.
Just looking at someone.
I was once out with my best friend. We were just like we had gone out. It was while we were in Europe, and we had gone out to like a club, and then we were like leaving, and we were like on the street. Like I think I can't remember. We were just standing on the street for a second, and there was like a woman sitting on a bench, and he was like, and I was like let's move over here, and he was like, what? I didn't even do anything. I was like, it doesn't matter.
You don't have to do anything.
You don't have to do anything. Let's just move over. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And that's exactly right. Like, I was leading a retreat not too long ago, and so I'm in a country that's not my country. I don't speak the language, and I was opening the gate to get into the retreat space. I was alone. And there were two men. It was at night, and it was one of those cobblestone, like, small streets. And there were two men, and they, like, I came to open the gate, and they were like 15 feet away, just standing, talking, and looking. And I felt immediately, my heart started racing, because I did not know, like, whether I was safe or not.
Yeah.
And it sucks but that's coming from my lived experience. That's because I've had experiences where I'm suddenly alone on a street or in an alley, and I have paid the price for that.
Yeah.
Women are not behaving this way for no reason.
Yeah.
And, I think that if you're a good guy, you're not going to be offended by that. You're not going to be like, up yours, you should at least say hi to me. You could be friendly. Like, I actually can't be friendly, because if I'm friendly, you could misread that. And guys misread that kind of thing a lot. You have to be the right level of, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just,
it's the care aspect.
That's exactly right.
It's
the awareness.
It's an
also.
awareness of inhabiting the space that you take up and knowing where you end. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And knowing how my energy is sort of rippling out.
Yeah.
To the people around me, and again, like, that's not a bad thing. It's not it's
It doesn't
you
take
can,
anything away
it
from
doesn't
you.
take anything away from you. It's, and you can take up space, just take it up meaningfully,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And mindfully.
I think
Play
that's
intentionally.
exactly. I think that's the other part of it too, is that men have, for the most part, been taught from the time they're tiny, the space is yours.
Yeah.
You can enter. You're
Yeah.
free to enter, and it's your space. And girls have not been taught that. They've been taught that same thing, that the
Right.
space belongs to the boys.
Yeah.
They can enter loud, they can enter boisterously, they can enter, whatever. And girls are supposed to be quiet
Yeah.
and follow the rules and sit down in their chairs and not, and so to understand that too, that we're not living in the same
No.
world. We haven't been taught, and to try to, if you care
Yeah.
to understand, to put yourself in somebody else's shoes, which I think is part of just being a good world neighbor.
I think that we are all parts of a whole.
Yeah.
And yeah, exactly. Like, and my obligation to myself is just as important as my obligation to you, as anybody I see,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
we're all just, we're in this together,
Yeah.
and we are making up something together. And so we inhabit different parts of that, but they can come together. You know what I mean?
My way of putting that thought, I think, is like, there's no such thing as other people's children. It's like if there's somebody, in the world, like if I see someone's child out in the world and they're in trouble, that's, to me, instantly you or your sister. It's like, I am going to respond the same way I would if the way I would want someone to respond if something was happening to you or
Yeah.
your sister and I wasn't there. I am going to do that. And I
Yeah.
actually don't care if that child that I'm talking about is 68 years old.
Right.
Because that's someone's child still.
Yeah.
Whether they're still here on this planet or not.
Yeah.
And I think if we could just get our heads around that,
Yeah.
the world would be better.
Yeah.
So this was great.
Yeah,
I don't know if there's anything that, we think later, oh, we didn't get to this. We'll just do it again.
Yeah.
But this was really
That was really nice.
everything that I was hoping for. And I hope that, for the people listening, I hope this was as, just as enlightening, amazing, whatever for you as it was for me. This is, everything I hoped for. So thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll do another episode of Bring Your Child to Work Day.
Next time I'm home.
Next time he's home. Next time I get to have him home. So thanks for being with us, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.